Now today we're dealing with oxygen sensors. Now as you can see, these look very similar to the air fuel sensors we did last week. The only difference is these live in a different part of the exhaust and it's a different trouble code. So I'll go over the steps on how to test this sensor by two different means, how to pinpoint where it lives on your vehicle, and of course how to replace it. Now in this case we're dealing with sensor number 2. So if you have a trouble code that's listed either in the title or in the description box below, we're dealing with sensor number 2. Now what does that mean? Well, right here I have a catalytic converter. Every modern vehicle has one. Chances are you have more than one. But that being said, you want to look for a sensor that looks just like this. Now this is an air fuel sensor. This is known as sensor 1 or your upstream. Now sensor 1 means it's before the catalytic converter. In this case we need the sensor that's located after the catalytic converter. Now to get very good access to it, chances are you'll need to jack up the vehicle. And if we take a look, let me get a little comfortable here. Alright, easiest way to do this, now your car may be a little exotic and you may have some plastic pieces underneath, but nonetheless just take a look at the exhaust and follow it. Follow the exhaust, and then right there, for example, we have an oxygen sensor. Right above it is the catalytic converter, and right after it immediately we have an oxygen sensor. That is sensor number 2. Now in my case I have 2 of these sensors. If I keep on following the exhaust, keep going, and then right there I have another sensor. Now both of these sensors are sensor 2. Okay, so I have 2 sensor 2 or oxygen sensors located at sensor 2. Now what it comes down to is the trouble code depending on the bank. Now let me explain. Now like I stated earlier, I have a number of trouble codes in the description box that will help you pinpoint where this sensor lives. And if I'm missing any of them, please leave those comments. We'll just keep on adding to the list. But that being said, let's say for example, you run the trouble code specific with your vehicle and it's telling you to look at the sensor located at bank 1, sensor 2. Now we know sensor 2 is after the catalytic converter, so it can't be this. This is before the catalytic converter. Sensor 2 is after, like the ones you just saw a few moments ago. Bank 1 just means the side of the engine that houses the number 1 cylinder. That's all it means. If you're dealing with bank 2, that's the side of the engine that houses the number 2 cylinder. So let's say for example you have something like this sort of setup. This is a transverse mounted engine. As you can see, it's mounted sideways. And you can tell it's a transverse mounted engine very simply because the belt, the drive belt, is on the side of the vehicle. It's not in the front, it's on the side. Plus my exhaust, I don't have an exhaust bank here or here. It's in the front, as you can see, and I have another exhaust bank in the back that we saw underneath the vehicle. Now chances are if you do have a transverse mounted engine, bank 2 is your front driver side toward the radiator. So if I had a trouble code specifically for this vehicle, bank 2 sensor 2 would be this guy right here. So bank 2 sensor 2, simply enough, again, and then right after this we'll rock and roll. It's important to explain this because you don't want to remove the wrong sensor. That's bank 2 sensor 2, okay? Bank 1 in my case would be that guy. Now if you do get confused, I always say this, just do a Google image search. A lot of times you can quickly find images showing where the sensors live on your vehicle. Okay, that's usually the fastest thing you could do. Also visit a forum. Visit a forum specific for your vehicle. So that being said, I'm just going to do this based on this sensor right here. It's a little bit easier to film in my case. So if you follow the wire up, I have a harness connector up there. Let's start by removing the harness or disconnecting the harness connector. Now like I was stating earlier, you can test this sensor while it's still attached to the vehicle, but I'm going to remove it. Chances are if you have this trouble code, the sensor needs to be replaced, most likely, but I'll go over some things in a moment. But that being said, we need to disconnect it. So how do you do that? Well, right here, if you follow this harness connector, it's going to the front or sensor number 1. So we don't need that one. But take a look at this other harness connector. We saw it from underneath the vehicle, and you can see the wiring going toward the bottom. So this is what we need to disconnect. but it's held on to this metal bracket, and I've seen guys destroy these harness connectors because they can't figure out how to remove these. They're not hard. All you need to do is find the tab. So in this case, if you look on the bottom, as you can see, these modern vehicles are very, very tight. But right there, there's a tab. Let me get my finger in there. So right here, there's a tab. So I'm pressing in the tab toward me. Pressing the tab, pull down. Okay? I'll do it one more time. Press in, pull down. That's it. That's all it takes. And this is where it lives, right here. And then, right here on top, you want to find the little tab. So right there's the tab. I'll see if I can do this with one hand. So you need to press in that tab and remove. I may have to put the camera down for this. Yeah, hold on a sec. Okay, so again, press in the tab. Press in, and then pull. Don't pull from the wire. Pull from the body. A little difficult from this angle, but there you go. And there you go. So now this is disconnected. Now very quickly, chances are your vehicle will have also these plastic tabs, and it's just too hard for me to hold the camera and film this at the same time, to be quite honest. But right here I have a very small 75-degree pair of pliers, and you just squeeze in the tabs. That's it. Just squeeze in the tabs very slightly, and it just comes right out of its mount. So it lives right up here in this case, and that's it. So they're not hard to remove. Some guys just, cut the wire and everything else. I kind of do it a little bit more slowly and methodical. But nonetheless, once you're ready to go, grab your sensor removal tool. These are 7/8 of an inch. If you're curious, let me grab an extension and we'll get this off. Now this is an oxygen sensor removal socket. It makes it very, very easy removing these sensors from the exhaust. Ultimately, you can rent one of these from your local auto parts store, or you can just purchase one. This is $9 off Amazon. I'll include a link in the description box below directly to Amazon if you do want to purchase one of these. But ultimately, this just simply fits over the sensor and you just remove it. Now you could typically purchase these with either a 1/2 inch drive adapter or a 3/8 drive. This happens to be 1/2 inch. So again, we'll place it over, just so you can see what we're going to do. Place it over the oxygen sensor, insert your extension, a ratchet, and just remove it. So again, there's the socket tool, extension, and I tend to use a 1/2 inch drive because the handle is just so much bigger. The larger the handle, the more force and easier it is to get these off. Okay, so here we go. And that's it. As you can see, after 13 years, they can be really tight. That's all it takes just to loosen up these sensors. I'm just going to reset it because I don't want to squeeze the wire here right into the engine. And just after that one very, very slight turn, these are loose enough. Now sometimes you may get a trouble code just because this is loose. For example, I remember for the other sensor on top, for sensor 1 bank 1, P0195 is if the sensor is loose. In other words, it's getting a very lean reading. So just make sure that it's nice and tight. So I'm just going to slowly remove this and we'll place it on the bench. Now testing these sensors are quite simple. If you're familiar with my videos, you know I love showing this technique with a multimeter. The other flip side is using a scan tool, which you'll see later on, but most of you don't have a sophisticated scan tool, but most likely you will have a multimeter, and that's why I show this technique. These are inexpensive. It's $20, and if you don't have one, again, I'll include a link to Amazon in the description box below. But if you've never used these, super easy. Don't get intimidated by all the different functions. They're very, very easy to use. So if you take a look at the multimeter, you have a number of different tests, as you can see. In this case, we need the omega symbol, which is an ohms or a resistance test. Okay, so you just place the multimeter on this setting, and the average sensor, average oxygen sensor reads roughly 4 to 6 ohms at room temperature. And here it's roughly 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So the colder it is, the higher the reading will be, and vice versa. If you're doing this in the summertime, it's 95 degrees out, your reading will be lower. But nonetheless, you want to get a reading. So if you take a look at the end of the harness connector, you have 4 prongs. Typically you'll find 4 prongs, and you just take the 2 leads, the red and the black lead from the multimeter, and touch the 2 prongs. Now you may be thinking, which 2 prongs do I touch? Well, you can always try a Google image search. A lot of times when you search this trouble code with your specific vehicle, you'll find diagrams on which 2 prongs to touch. But nonetheless, if you can't find anything, just do trial and error. So for example, I'm just taking the 2 leads, 1 black lead here on the left bottom, and the red lead will go on, let's say, up here on top. Now there's no change on the multimeter, nothing. Try over here. There we go. Whoop, that was my fault. Right there, nothing. But if I touch these 2 leads, watch the multimeter, I have a reading of 6.5, 6.4 ohms. That tells me that this sensor is working correctly, which it should be. I don't have a trouble code. I'm just doing this as a how-to. But that's all you need to do. Just make sure you get a reading. Again, if you're not too sure which 2 prongs to touch, just do trial and error. But ultimately, you want to see a reading from the multimeter. If you don't see a reading, the sensor is bad. It's that simple. Now, if this intimidates you, you don't want to do this kind of work, I will show you another technique in a moment. But that being said, let's say you do this test and you do get a reading, but you have the check engine light on for this specific sensor. What else can you check? Well, there's also a fuse that runs this system, so let's also check the fuse. Now, before I reinstall this, I'm just going to add some anti-seize compound. Now again, chances are if you have this trouble code, it's the sensor. Right? It's sort of remote that you have a problem with a fuse being blown. Some vehicles have a relay for the air, fuel, and the oxygen sensors, which I'll show you on how to test in a couple days. But nonetheless, in this case, the sensor is fine. Oop, that's way too much. Now, when you do buy a new sensor, they'll have a little plastic tab over the new sensor, and that's because when you remove it, you'll find anti-seize compound. So it's a good idea if you are reinstalling the sensor, just put a dab of anti-seize compound on there. We'll reinstall it, and I'll show you where that fuse lives. Now, when you reinstall the sensor, you don't want to over-tighten it because you don't want to strip out the threads, or even worse, you don't want to strip out the threads on the exhaust. These are not incredibly tight from the factory. So just give it a good tug, and that's it. That's all you need to do. So as you can see, I've reconnected the harness connector, and the wire's nicely routed where it should be. But let's say you've tested that sensor and you have the check engine light on. Now what else can you check? Well, the fuse may be blown. Now take a look at this fuse box. Most vehicles have an under hood, in other words underneath the hood fuse box, and another fuse box underneath the dash. But you want to find the puller, the fuse puller, which looks like this. Okay, so find the fuse puller, and we're going to check the fuse that's specifically for the air, fuel, and the oxygen sensors. Now in my case, the fuse lives in the cabin, so you sort of have to search for this, but it's simple enough. Let me remove this cover and take a look at the opposite end, number 4, where it says LAF. That is the fuse for not only the air fuel sensors, but also the oxygen sensors, for both. So in my case, I have 2 air fuel sensors and 2 oxygen sensors, one for each bank. So if we take a look at the fuse, take a look at the arc. If that's broken, that's your problem. But again, chances are if you have this trouble code, it's the sensor. So very simply, let me start the vehicle, and I'll show you on how we can verify that sensor's working correctly, and also how to test it using a scan tool. So what we have here is a scan tool that can read live data. What that means is I have the vehicle running, as you can see, and this will retrieve what the vehicle's computer is reading as well. This can be a little pricey, but in my case, this was only $40. This is the cheapest scan tool I was able to find on Amazon. Does a perfectly fine job. The flip side is maybe you can rent one of these from your local auto parts store. So ultimately, we need to go into the live data menu. So in my case, that's the diagnose section, and I want to go down to data stream. Now, in your case, you want to find that specific oxygen sensor. So let's say, for example, we replaced the oxygen sensor at bank number 2. So what I want to look for is bank 2, sensor 2, oxygen sensor, and it will specifically spell that out for you. These things are really nice tools to have if you plan on doing your own auto repair. So here we go. Let's try to find that oxygen sensor. Okay, so here's oxygen sensor bank 1, so that's the passenger side. We want bank 2, bank 1, bank 2. Here you go. So oxygen sensor output voltage, bank 2, sensor 2. So if we click on that, we should see a reading, and right now the vehicle is receiving a voltage reading, a very, very small voltage reading, but as you can see, it bounces back and forth, and that verifies that the sensor is working correctly. Now this is the fastest way by far you can test the sensor. You don't have to remove it and hook it up to the digital multimeter. This does a perfectly fine job. The only reason I show that other technique is because a lot of you don't have one of these. But that being said, this verifies that the sensor is working correctly and we're in good shape. And that's all it takes to really test, remove, and replace one of these sensors. I hope this helps out a number of you out there. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.